it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now, post a new video, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're finding the content useful, helpful, insightful in any way, shape or form. I just want to give this channel some like love. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing Asexual Guide to Sex. What the F? If you didn't already know who I am Sandra Bellamy, asexuality, dating and relationships and life coach. And I'm also the author of this awesome Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, a celebration of asexual diversity book. So, Asexual Guide to Sex. I had a comment on one of my Asexual Guide to Sex videos, and someone wrote WTH, which, if you didn't know what that meant, it meant what the fuck, excuse the language. And basically, I know that means that they don't understand why I'm writing a book about sex for asexuals, as in most asexuals don't experience any sexual attraction. So they're like, why the hell would you write a book about Asexual Guide to Sex when asexuality is pretty much the opposite of wanting sex? Like, what the hell is going on with that? And I'm sure that's what has been on other asexuals' minds. They're like, what is she doing? Now, if you watch this channel and you actually watch my videos, you will understand why I'm doing and why I'm writing and going to be publishing the Asexual Guide to Sex book. You will understand it's because I got approached by an aromantic asexual person who said to me, but Sandra, what happens if I do want sex? You know, what would I do? I don't understand what I'm doing because I've never had sex before. And this is how the Asexual Guide to Sex book came about. So I would encourage anyone who is thinking, why is she writing that book, to actually watch the videos I've done previously on it. But I'm doing this video especially for you to explain why I've written such a book, why I'm still writing such a book. Because this book is very, very important. The Asexual Guide to Sex book has got real life asexual stories. Hello, Sam! Oh, lots of love to you, my friend. Lovely to see you. I hope you had a good time with your aunt today. Lots of love to you. Lovely to see you. And I always think of that colour blue as Smurfs, by the way. I haven't told you that, but I love the Smurfs. Like the blue you use on your Sam bit with the admin thing. I just think blue's lovely. It reminds me of Smurfs. I love Smurfs. I'm digressing here, but there you go. And so, yeah, the Asexual Guide to Sex book is very, very important book. And like, why is it such an important book? It's the book that can change the course of history, right? So this book is going to help asexuals, any asexuals who are thinking about having sex for the first time ever. Now, as we are recorded 1% of the population, this means we are 1 in every 100 people. We're very, very tiny in comparison to the majority of sexualities in the world. And obviously the majority of sexualities are still heterosexual people or sexual people in general, right? There's still a large proportion of people that are sexuals. And so therefore, you know, it stands to reason and logic there are going to be asexuals that end up in relationships with sexuals. You know, logically, if you think about the statistics, a lot of asexuals are going to, at some point, either think about having sex for a relationship, or they're going to encounter a situation where they're getting into a relationship with someone who is asexual, and the sexual's saying, what about having sex? Or some asexuals are not sex repulsed, and they might just be curious as to what it's like, even though they don't feel any sexual attraction. There's a whole host of reasons why asexuals do or think about having sex, right? There's a majority of asexuals that don't. We have to respect the fact that a large proportion of the community still don't want sex. But there are some people that come to me in private message, particularly people who are from foreign countries, like India, like Bangladesh, those type of countries where they have, particularly in India, where they have arranged marriages, right? And, you know, they come to me and they're like in private message and they're pleading with me basically, like, what do I do, Sandra? I'm having an arranged marriage. You know, obviously, I think people should still choose to go their own way and not be in a relationship that's no good for them. But it doesn't matter what I say, because at the end of the day, if Indian people or Bangladesh or whoever wants arranged marriage, or whether they agree with it or they don't, but they're letting their parents do that for them and they're not stopping it, then I have to deal with the person who's in front of me pleading with me to help them, not my ideal situation and what I think should happen, which is, you know, I don't think they should be getting into a relationship and having an arranged marriage with a sexual person who expects sex if they don't want sex. I think it's disgusting and wrong. And I will be making this type of thing clear in the book, right? But I respect the fact that people will do what they want to do what their family asks them to do a lot of the time, and it doesn't matter what I say, right? And I have to deal with the person and the situation that they are in now or going to be in, regardless of my feeling about it, right? I have to deal with the person who's distressed and the other end of a message that's reaching out to me saying, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, I'm scared, help me. I have to deal with that. You know, it's a big responsibility whenever someone is in a position like I am, helping asexuals all over the world. It's a big responsibility. And I have a responsibility to every asexual on the spectrum, not just who I choose. You know what I mean? Or not just choosing certain people. You know, not just choosing people to talk to or write books for that don't, you know, that are asexual, that never want sex, not just the sex repulsed asexuals. Imperative, I write for all different types of asexuals. So of course I'm going to be writing other books for asexuals that have got nothing, you know, that are not focused on asexuals having sex, right? It might still be one of the questions I ask them, because I think it's on a lot of people's minds. It crops up in any different type of relationship, usually the sexual stuff, doesn't it? You know, and how we respond to it and feel about it. You know, it's kind of constantly there, whether we like or not. But this is a book, the one book that is focused on asexuals that are thinking about having sex. And this book is specifically designed to say, do not have sex until you've read this book, right? Do not have it. If you're asexual, don't have it until you've read the book, so you can make an informed choice of decision whether having sex is right for you or not, right? Obviously, there's some asexuals that are sex repulsed. I'm not having sex, I'm a virgin, and you want to stay that way, and you should stay that way. Do not have sex if you don't want it. Do not have it. Don't. I'm repeating that, right? I don't think any asexual should have sex who doesn't want to try it, who's not curious, who's not interested in it. I don't care how much sexuals are after it. You don't do it, right? Don't put yourself in that position. I gave in to that years ago. I was 16 years old. I gave in to the pressure of my boyfriend at the time asking me for sex, you know. Sam, I don't plan on ever having sex, but I'm still getting the book as I'm interested in other perspectives. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Yeah, some people, thanks for the thumbs up. Yeah, some people are curious to know other people's perspectives. And I think as well that the book is very good from that point of view, is that, you know, you have the safety of knowing that you're never having sex if you're an asexual that never wants sex, but you can look at how it works for other people, asexuals and sexual relationships. That's kind of like a safety thing, you know. It's like, I'm safe, I'm not having sex, no one's touching my bits, but I can actually see how it works or not works for other people, do you know what I mean, who are asexual. So that's kind of like a curiosity factor of the book. There's going to be people like Sam who are curious to know how that works, you know. And like Sam says, it's nice to see other people's perspectives, you know. And so, you know, I wrote this book specifically for all these different types of people. So what asexuals that are coming to me asking me, well, if I did have sex, how would I go about it? Because I haven't got a clue, because I've never done it before. You know, the asexuals that are begging me to help them because they're getting an arranged marriage and their husband, you know, because it's predominantly females I get asked pretty much by, you know, this type of information. You know, their husband expects sex of them. What did they do? You know, it can be very distressing when you see that type of thing, really, especially when I feel like just saying, you know, doesn't matter what your parents want, walk away and go your own path in life, because that's what I really want to say. You know, at the end of the day, what you're going to have like stigma, you're going to be frowned upon probably by your family or community, but it's a damn sight better than spending the rest of your life in a prison with someone, being made to do something that you don't want to do, because at the end of the day you're tied to a contract to a person who's putting you in a position of doing stuff you don't want to do. Obviously not all sexual people are like this, but the women that I get, you know, messages from, this is the type of thing that they feel, you know. So I'm just kind of like expressing that. And then you get the asexuals that are not sex repulsed, the ones that are indifferent, the ones and you get some that are just really curious and want to give it a go, you know, like, well, what is this big deal that everyone goes on about? Is it really a big deal? You know, and some are like, you know, they don't mind having sex with their partner. They're like, whatever type thing. And so all these types of asexuals are just as valid as every single other type of asexual on the spectrum. There's no one asexual that's better than the rest, or that has, you know, that I'm the only type of asexual that can exist. You know, there's a big myth that no asexuals have sex. It's simply not true. You know, I even watched an aromantic sexual video lately. Someone who's aromantic but not asexual, and he was describing asexuals as not having any interesting sex whatsoever or having anything to do with it. And that is actually a myth, because, like, although a lot of asexuals aren't interested in having sex, there's still quite a number that are participating in it in relationships. I mean, there's, just think about all the globe now. How many people are having sex and don't even realize they're asexual? They just know that they're kind of a bit different to how their partner feels. You know, that was me years ago. I didn't have a clue that I was asexual. I was just kind of like, I'm not really into this. With some people, it was just like, this is really boring. And it's kind of like, can we be doing other things? Like, I prefer to do the washing up and put my headphones on and listen to music than have sex. It's really not what I'm into, you know, like, and it's kind of like, you know, I think it's really, really important this book comes out. You know, I am working on the book again now. I'm coming towards the end of another story, which will be great for publishing. I think I've only got like about 3 more to go with other people, something like, well, one's pretty much done. I've just got to re-go over it again. The other one's 3/4 done, and the other one needs to be finished. So, you know, I want to get it published before Christmas. It's a book I started working on last June. I'd hope to have got it like published, you know, like kind of around about, well, I hope to have published it earlier than I did, but like things developed and I had to do other stuff, but everything's really, really good and important. So, you know, the Asexual Guide to Sex book is not a book to be taken lightly. It's not a case of what the F. It's a case of, I care about people and I want people to be making an informed choice of decision whether sex is right for them to try not as an asexual person. And also the sex education schools is absolutely rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. I mean, people don't talk in depth about sex. It's all like, oh, you're supposed to do it. It's such a great thing, not. But do you know what I mean? It's all this type of like situation that, you know, just crops up time and time again, but no one actually explains, like, to a person. Like, this is a book that I wish I'd had when I was 16 and virgin. No one actually explains what you do with your legs, arms, hands, and all that. A lot of the time, you kind of like, some, you know, like, you kind of get used to how that goes, but for some asexuals particularly, they just feel so awkward. They don't know what they're doing, and I think it's quite, you know, it can be quite scary even attempting to have sex if you're asexual. If you don't have a clue what you're doing, you haven't got a book that will guide you as to roughly what you're meant to do, then it can be even more scary. So this is a book that helps lay out other people's stories, other asexual stories. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some asexuals are still having sex, others aren't. So it's a very insightful read. And when you're reading the book, you get into the minds of the actual real life people and their stories, and they're very moving, you know, and they're very emotional. They got a huge impact on how you feel. It's like a whole immersive experience, you know. And it's just a beautiful book, you know. I really, really cannot thank the people that have been involved enough in it, you know. And they are sacrificing their own kind of like putting things to bed in some ways, you know, like some of the stories are memories they don't want to think about, you know. And so those people have had to delve into their past and kind of like go back into it, to stuff they might not have wanted to even remember necessarily, but they've done it for the sake of helping someone else, another asexual person, or even people that aren't asexual will get a copy of this book, because they'll be like, the sex education's so poor in schools. It's not really proper sex education, is it? I mean, I've said before on this channel, my sex education was 2 people in costumes, a man and a woman was like an egg and the man was a sperm, and it's like singing, one day my sperm will come, one day my sperm will come. And it's like, you can just imagine chug, chug, chug towards each other. I mean, like, how is that sex education? It's like, the egg and the sperm go together. Oh, okay. And it produces a baby. It's like, that's not sex education, is it? It doesn't tell you how, like, to deal with your emotions, how to deal with the emotional side of sex, which is very, very difficult sometimes, how to get your mind right before you have sex, how to put boundaries in place to ensure you stay safe during sex. Eddie, I don't plan on sex either. Oh, good, Eddie. You know, and so it's very, very important that we have a book like this come out for asexuals. There isn't anything on the market like it. I mean, the closest thing like it is my Asexual Guide to Sex. Like, I actually had a publishing company interested in the Asexual Guide to Sex, but they decided there was a market for it. There's a market, but because I was telling the truth in the book, like the stories in the book, I've got both good, bad, and ugly experiences of sex. They didn't actually want to publish it. They thought it was too risky because they wanted to make sure that every story in it had kind of like a happy ending and everything was jolly. But I, as an asexual person myself, and as an asexual author, and a person who likes to help asexuals, I like to tell the truth about things, the real reality, not the glorification. Asexuals are sick and tired of having all this glorification about sex. Like, sex is so wonderful, sex is amazing, sex is like put on a pedestal, right? I'm not saying there's not people in the book that don't like sex and think it's fine, but I'm saying in general, asexuals are fed up with the very filtered view of sex. You know, there's a very filtered view, isn't there? There's not the real damn truth about sex, let's face it. When has any book ever done the real damn truth about it? Like, in such a book like this, they haven't. You know, a lot of books, sex books, books about sex, they're all done by psychologists, psychiatrists. A lot of the time, they're not asexual. They're by dating coaches that are traditionally just for heterosexual relationships. You know, those are the types of things that are out there. There's the books always a lot of the time work on assumptions that you know certain things about sex. And I don't really think they look at the holistic side, the emotional side, the mental side, the physical side, the whole shebang, if you know what I mean. Eddie, they myth of if you are not having sex, something is wrong with you. Exactly. There is a huge myth if not having sex, something is wrong with you. And this particular publishing company that's been going for 35 years who approached me, they actually approached me about this book first. The Asexual Perspectives. They wanted to publish this. They saw it in an LGBT bookshop. In the end, I said no, because they want to remove half the stories in it. It's a Asexual Perspectives, 47 asexual stories. That's the whole point of it. It's to show our diversity across the asexual spectrum and our differences within it. That's the whole point I wrote that many stories, for the diversity in it, you know? It's like, and they want to take out half the stories, and they wanted to have me to ask permission to quote out of my own book and a lot of other things. And then they decided that I had successfully marketed this book myself and successfully published it in, and they couldn't match my sales expectations, or they doubt they could match it because I'd done such a good job myself, you know? So, the only book, and I had to do an analysis for them. I had to do an analysis, a market analysis, like what other books are like your Asexual Guide to Sex book, so you know the competition. Do you know the only competition was my own book, Asexual Perspectives one? That's the only competition. I'm competing against my own book here, people. That's kind of strange and funny at the same time, because this one obviously talks about some stuff to do with, like, have you had sex before? So if I open this book, it talks about the differences between sexual attraction, sexual arousal, and sexual desire. And it also talks about questions like, do you believe if a sexual person had a relationship with an asexual can work, and what do you think about it being fair or not, that type of thing. And it asks stuff like, are you currently in a relationship, and if so, is it with another asexual? So it does talk about, you know, views about sex and stuff like that. Sam, it's a great book in its entirety and well worth getting. Had some great revelations for me. See, Sam's got this book. If you want this book, go and grab your copy now. It's down below in the description. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, great revelations. I think the thing that's good about this book is because there's so many stories in it, It's very easy to read with the layout as well. I specifically did it on purpose like that. Answers pretty much every and all questions you could think about with asexuality, you know. And it's you know, usually there's some type of story for everyone to be able to relate to, you know. And so, you know, I think it's really, I found it quite amusing that I'm the only one competing with myself. But so, you know, if you are new to asexuality, and even if you want to know more about how asexuality and how that works with sex, this is a great introduction to it. I have to say, this is a great prequel to my Asexual Guide to Sex book, you know. And so I think it's really, really good. And to talk about Eddie, you know, the myth of you not having sex, something is wrong with you. One of the questions I ask in the book is this Asexual Perspectives book is, why do you feel in general that society doesn't accept asexuality as a form of sexual orientation in its own right, and what can be done about this? In Adair Gearhart's story, Adair says society seems to think asexuality is a disorder that needs to be cured. It's different, so it must be fixed or otherwise eradicated. Most people enjoy and desire sex, so we must all, right? If we don't, we are broken and should be taking a pill or something. I don't think this is an issue that can be fixed with mere education. The world rejects those who are different. Until we learn to embrace that not every person is going to fit any particular mold, and that's okay, there will always be issues with us weirdos finding acceptance. And I think that really does sum it up, you know. If you're someone who's different and you just don't fit into the romantic or sexual orientation usual heterosexual model, people just can't deal with it, and so they put the emphasis on you that you've got something wrong with you, and you haven't. You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing needs fixing. The only thing that needs fixing is people's perception and uncomfortability that they can't deal with someone who's different than them. Sam, Sam told me about this book again. It shows the great diversity in the asexual spectrum. We're not all just copy-paste jobs, nor are we broken. Oh, thank you, Sam. Yeah, it's really important. Yeah, I think we're not all just copy and paste jobs. I think that's important, yeah, because you know, like there's a lot of things on the internet about asexuality, right? There's a lot of textbook definitions. You go to lots of different websites and you'll see this is what a great asexual is, or this is what a demisexual is, but you don't really have it in real life context. You're like, okay, but how does that work in real life? And so this shows you in real life context how that works. There are aromantic asexuals in the book, a biromantic, demisexual, you know, there's all different types of asexuals in this book. So like Sam says, it shows we're not just all copy and paste jobs. We don't just a definition that's written on a website somewhere. Do you know what I mean? It shows it in real life context. And you know, with the Asexual Guide to Sex book, like what I was saying is the reason they didn't want to publish the I declined them publishing this one because I wasn't having them taking stories out, and like they agreed that I'd done the best job I could possibly do of, you know, like publishing it and successfully marketing it myself anyway to reach a wide audience, and they couldn't do any better basically. But the Asexual Guide to Sex, they spoke to their marketing team, they said it will, you know, there's an audience for the book. But again, they didn't want to do it because it does talk about some sexual trauma and abuse in there, because, you know, some asexuals have had that. You know, you can't get away from it. Some sexuals have it, some asexuals have it. You know, asexuality is not a result of trauma, but obviously if an asexual doesn't want sex, or they don't feel naturally inclined towards sex, then the whole experience is going to be traumatic for them if they're being pushed to do something they don't want to do. And like I said, if I'd had the Asexual Guide to Sex book when I was 16 years old, it would have saved me a lot of problems, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, because I would have known there's nothing wrong with me. And it's okay to feel different. It's okay to not want that. It's okay to not feel like I should be having it, because there's people in the book that have tried sex and they no longer have it, you know? But they want the publishing company that wanted it. They wanted me to cow all the stories that had any form of negativity towards sex in terms of, you know, like any bad experiences. And that's not the point of the book. The point of the book is to show a variety of experiences, the good, the bad, and ugly, so that asexual can make an informed choice or decision. If they are thinking about considering having sex for the first time, they can make an informed choice of decision if they should go ahead or not, based on different people's experiences who are actually asexual or on the asexual spectrum. And I think that is a lot better than going to another book or buying books on sex or, you know, dating relationships traditionally that don't understand the asexual point of view, because they can't, because they're not asexual. Someone mentioned asexual. It's nice if they try and understand it. It's wonderful. A whole book dedicated for the topic of sex and asexuality together. I mean, that's just phenomenal, you know. And once the book gets into the hands of a lot more people who aren't asexual, they'll be able to see categorically that asexuality is real. The Asexual Guide to Sex book proves asexuality is real beyond a shadow of a doubt. That is why I'm so proud of the book. That's why it needs to come out. I know it's going to be controversial. I know some asexual can be like, why the hell? What the F are you writing that for? But I've explained why I'm doing it, and it's a book that needs to come out. I've got people waiting for this book, you know, like begging me, when are you going to get it finished, Sandra? I'm working on it now, you know. So I'm back to work on it, you know. So I really, really think that it's going to be, you know, it could completely change the course of history. Just imagine if the book got into hands of psychiatrists or psychologists or other dating people, experts, you know, that aren't asexual. You know, they'll be able to see what it's like to be asexual in a sexual context, because it's all very pie in the sky to them. You know, when the asexuals go, but I don't experience sexual attraction, I don't feel that way about sex, I don't experience that type of thing, I don't think that way, I don't feel that way. They're actually going to be able to see it. It's not just me or someone else saying, oh, we feel this way. They're going to be able to feel it from the words of the people involved. Sam, I'm one of the one T's or waities. You're one of the waities. Though, for curiosity's sake, yes, Sam is a personally sex repulsed asexual, and they want the book because they're curious, and also they're very supportive of my work. Thank you, my best friend. You know, but they are curious, and they'll be interested in other people's perspectives. Sam, although sex repulsed, is very willing to listen to different people's perspectives, which is really nice. I really appreciate that about them. You know, they might have to take breaks, because obviously if you are a sex repulsed asexual and you are going to read the book, I will warn you now, obviously the topic is sex. So if you're a sex repulsed asexual, it might be difficult. You might need breaks. You know, like I'm a personally sex repulsed asexual for me, not for other people. And the majority of the stories I'm fine, you know, like I can absorb. But there's one particular story that I found very difficult to read myself, you know, because of the context, and I'm sex repulsed, you know. So it's you know, a sex repulsed author writing about sex is kind of a little bit difficult sometimes, you know. I'm not usually repulsed by other people, but one story, it's very emotional. There's a lot of emotional stories in there, but there's one that's emotional and kind of like, oh my god, I'm glad that didn't actually happen to me type thing. Sam, I will be taking many breaks. Yeah, I think a good job. The good thing is these my books, I like to do them, as you know, a chapter per person. And I specifically do it like this because if you're a slow reader, it means you can just read like one story a day, you know, or you can even read just like a page a day if you want. But I mean, you know, like in the Asexual Perspectives book, I'll be doing a similar layout. Well, it is a similar layout to this, you know, when you have the questions. And I've done the questions the same in part of the book and same in the other part of the book. It's split into a few parts, the Asexual Guide to Sex, so that you can cross-reference easily as well, you know. Sam, yeah, that makes it easier for me to read and easier to compare. Yeah, so, you know, I write this book, the way I style the book is because it's best for everyone, in the sense that, you know, like some people are slow readers, some people take information in different ways. They need short chapters. A lot of non-fiction books are designed to have shorter chapters anyway. If you're used to reading fiction, that's completely different. Non-fiction is designed so you have shorter, snappier chapters. That's the whole point. But like Sam said, it's easier to compare. That's why I do it. So you can like pick a story out, and then you can compare that person's story, part of their, you know, their answer to the other person's answer. So you can, like, you know, see different things. So say for example, you're reading the Asexual Guide to Sex book, and you wanted to know how to prepare your mind for having sex for the first time, because, you know, the mind is very correlated to the body actions. If you're not thinking right in your mind, like if your mind's dead against having sex and your body's like want or urging for it, it's, you know, like it just doesn't work. Or say that your partner's saying about it but your mind's not on it, you know, obviously You might decide that your mind, you just can't get your head around it. Even though you've thought about having it, that was it. You're not going to do it because it's just not right for you, which is great. You've read the book and got the conclusion that you are personally looking for. But, like, if you are an asexual who's going to have sex, it's not going to be like, it could be kind of like scary for you, or you just maybe just confused about what to do, And so it's like how to prepare your mindset, and you'll be able to compare all the different asexuals who've had sex before, their different answers in that respect, like how they prepare their mind for having it. And, you'll be able to, like, emotions, see what they feel about emotions in regard to sex, and how they emotionally prepare for it as well, because that's what's not talked about a lot of the time, even in biology and school and stuff. It's all like basic, like physical stuff. There's no like emotions, like how do you prepare emotionally for it. I mean, I wished I'd known years ago how emotional it can be, because it's something you don't really expect. You kind of, like, a lot of society kind of like dehumanizes sex, and it's kind of like a lot of the time I think like you're a piece of meat. And it's like they don't really show you the emotional side and how it can affect you. And I think if you're asexual, even if you just read the book, like Sam says, for curiosity, you can see how different asexuals deal with it. Like, I found it a very emotional thing. I wasn't really expecting it, but I wasn't expecting to have sex. At 16, I was basically made to feel like I needed to do it in order to stay in a relationship, and because his friends were all doing it anyway, which is a wrong thing to do, me having sex, but it happened, so that's it, really. But but it makes you, if you're an emotionally attached person anyway, a person gets emotionally attached easily, sex just makes it, in my personal experience, more emotionally attaching. Although some asexuals feel removed of the situation, it's like it's happening to them, but it's like an out-of-body experience. Like, they don't, it's like it's happening to someone else, not them, because they're asexual, and it's like got a disassociation there. If you watched yesterday's live stream, there was someone in the live stream just talking about French kissing, and they felt differently when they did that. But you can, like, with sex, you can get a disassociation, like you're going through the motions but you're not really feeling it because you're asexual. So I think you've got to understand that, and I think the book is not telling you, it's kind of showing you through what happened in the lives of different asexuals, and how it made them feel, and with some of them how it feels to this day. It's a very, very insightful read. To me, it's the most incredible book ever written. I'm biased a bit, just a little bit, but it's the best book ever written on sex. It's just my personal opinion. I don't mind sharing that because I just think it is. I just think it's revolutionary. Like, one of my friends who's waiting for the book, Andy, who's my and Sam's friend, he's our best friend, but me and Sam are best friends as well, so he's our other best friend. He is really waiting for the book, and he said it's going to be revolutionary, and that was the word I was looking for, and he hasn't even read it yet. No one's read it yet, so I was just like, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. It's revolutionary. Asexual Guide to Sex is the most revolutionary book about sex ever written in the whole history of mankind. I'm just declaring that now because I thought I would. I just think it's just amazing. When I was writing the other day, I felt so peaceful in my soul, because writing is my hugest passion. I could just write 24/7, 365 days a year and be so happy. So happy. Writing to me is just beautiful. It's beautiful. The most beautiful thing ever. And it's just so, I was just so peaceful and happy. I'm never usually, obviously I'm happy with my friends, Sam, particularly when I see them. But like, when I'm on my own, the thing that makes me the most happy is when I'm not Skyping my best friend. When I'm completely on my own, like doing solo activities, that is literally the most happiest I ever am when I'm writing. My soul is completely at peace. It's almost like the world around me just calms down, and I feel so peaceful. Nothing else gives me that feeling. Like, some people like meditation, some people like yoga. Nothing gives me more pleasure and happiness and contentment and peace than writing. books that I love to write. You know, I mean, writing books for asexuals is just incredible as well. It's my two hugest passions, writing and asexuality. You know, so I will be writing more books for asexuals, but I also will be writing books for other non-asexual people as well. You know, pretty much like, even, you know, I've got a fibromyalgia self-help handbook. Even that talks about asexuality in there. So how did you get asexuality in a book about fibromyalgia? Please tell me. So basically, I wrote in the book that that, you know, a lot of people with fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain condition that affects the nerves and muscles of the body, a lot of those people, they're not asexual, although you can get some asexuals that also got fibromyalgia, obviously. But, you know, there is a proportion of them that can't have sex because it's too painful for them, because fibromyalgia affects the nerves, so it affects that area. And so that's what I said in the book, you know, because I'm in fibromyalgia groups, and some of them are like, my husband left me because I can't have sex anymore. You know, and they're in bits, and there's other, like, they can't find a partner because they all need sex. And that's how I brought about asexuality in the fibromyalgia self-help album book. The link is down below in that description as well of that book. And so, you know, that's how I brought it about, and said, you know, there is this sexual orientation called asexuality, and asexuals have the ability to love and still be happy and healthy in a relationship without sex, you know. And I'm asexual, and yeah, so I explained that. And, you know, that although you're not asexual, if you experience sexual attraction, you know, but if you don't or can't have sex, then, you know, there are people who can love you out there without it. And it might be the case that some people with fibro who can't have sex, you know, and they just can't do that ever again, those people that are feeling unloved could actually work out very well being in a relationship with an asexual who doesn't need sex, who can love them without sex, you know. And so this is why it's very important as well to get asexuality recognised globally as a sexual orientation in its own right. Just think of the amount of people that are impotent in the world, that can't have sex for whatever reason. Maybe it's a disability, maybe it's a health condition, you know. Obviously there are other asexuals, but if we're talking about outside the asexual community, you know, once that book gets into hands of other people, you know, there could be a lot more relationships formed with people who previously felt unloved because for some physical or medical reason or other reason they just couldn't have sex, and they thought there's no one else in the world that's going to want them because they're just damaged, like asexuals feel damaged sometimes, you know. And so we're not damaged and they're not damaged. They might be damaged physically, as in sense of their body and stuff, if they got a physical disability, but they're not damaged as a person, you know. And so it's very important that we reach out and we understand that there's people who maybe not be asexual, but they might have the, you know, it might be a good opportunity for asexuals to be able to give love to people who actually can't have sex for whatever reason, you know. And so that's really huge beneficial to both asexuals and those types of people, you know. And this is why we need to get the word out as well, you know. And there's a lot of people who are virgins that are not even asexual out there, and they don't have a clue what they're doing either, you know. Just imagine this book is going to help a lot of people, you know. And personally, I'd rather, if I was even considering about having sex, have a book where I knew it got to the nitty gritty. Basically, the book is everything you've always wanted to know about sex when you're a virgin but was afraid to ask. that's what I could have called the book if it hadn't been aimed specifically towards asexuals, because it pretty much covers everything you'd want to know about sex but were afraid to ask. It does actually do that, but that's not the title of the book. So you know, don't give me other ideas. I have actually thought about that as a title, but I've got the title already. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, I hope that's doesn't mean to say I'm not going to do other books with that title. But I think the Asexual Guide to Sex book will pretty much cover everything where asexuals are concerned. And so it's very, very important that you understand why I wrote the book. It's to help those asexuals that are thinking about having sex for the first time ever, or are curious to know more about it, or actually are in sexual relationships and are having a hard time understanding like what's actually going on, and actually putting boundaries in place and staying safe. You know, that's a very important aspect. Especially if you're asexual and you don't naturally feel that way anyway, you know. I think it's important to, you know, think about your feelings and your emotions and what's going on in your mind when that's happening or thinking about doing that. So it's a very, very valid book, and I'm happy to be writing it. I'm happy that I'm back writing it again. It fills my heart with joy. and I'm really on a mission to get it published before Christmas. So I'm like, oh gosh, we're already in September. It's only October, November, December. Like, it'll be Christmas soon. Can I get it out in time for then? Oh my gosh, I hope so. But I still got a lot of stuff to write of my own, so let's hope it happens. And it's definitely going to be published. It's just that I want it to be published this year before Christmas would be ideal. So I'm going to be working hard on that. Anyway, I'm going to leave you for now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out Sam's comments and recommendations about Asexual Perspectives book. If you haven't already got this book, grab a copy now by clicking on the link below in the description. And, you know, Asexual Guide to Sex, I'm hoping to get out before Christmas. I'm back working on it again now, and I'm so happy to be able to bring this book to the world. It's going to be great, and it's finally going to put asexuality on the map in a huge way. I believe it's finally going to validate our orientation existing, and no one's going to be able to question it after they read this book. I seriously believe that. Sam, yeah, grab the book. It's a great read. See, Sam says to grab the book. Grab the Asexual Perspectives book. Actually, it's a very good prequel to Asexual Guide to Sex, or if you're not interested in even having sex because you're an asexual that sex repels, this book is great because it just talks about views on love, life and sex, not actually how you'd go about having sex. Whereas the Asexual Guide to Sex book does talk about that. So anyway, thanks for the thumbs up, and thank you, Eddie, as well, so much for being in chat. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for your comments, and thanks, Sam. Lots of love to you both, and I'll see you on the next video live stream. If you haven't already subscribed, you're new to this channel, click the subscribe button now and hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now, post a new video. Lots of love to you, and I'll see you on the next video live stream. Take care. Bye.